Welcome to Jaunty Haunts, the podcast about all things supernatural. After 30 years of keeping a secret, I'm finally ready to share with the world that I see ghosts. Yep, I've been having conversations with the other side while trying to keep up appearances. This podcast is all about getting spooky and connecting with others who might also sense, see, or feel things beyond the ordinary. We'll swap true tales of the seen and unseen, and maybe even laugh about the weird stuff we've experienced. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, come join me as we explore the paranormal. Let's connect, share, and maybe feel a little less crazy together. Welcome to Jaunty Haunts. Hi, listeners. Welcome to episode 9, Childhood Fears. I can't believe we're already at episode 9. I'm so excited and grateful for everybody's support of the show and for listening along. And we've got some really fun episodes coming up this holiday season. So thanks for tuning in each week. And please continue to listen and tell your friends about it. So before we really get into things, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what you can expect this episode. We've got a segment with our favorites, Sierra and Jordan, joining us to talk about the things that scared them when they were little kids. We were all just sitting chatting about this one day, and it kind of sparked the idea to do this whole episode. We're also going to have a good friend of mine from college. His name is Spencer. He called in to tell me some of his amazing stories. So I just asked him, hey, what were you afraid of as a little kid? And his answer will blow your mind. He literally had a premonition about a very scary man who he ended up seeing in real life. And our last guest is going to be my best friend from my hometown named Shelby. Shelby grew up with me in our small town of Lake Tahoe, California. So please enjoy her talking about what she was afraid of as a child. You're going to be hearing a lot more from Shelby and some more from Spencer throughout season 1 as well. So stay tuned for those future episodes, but I'm excited you guys are going to get sort of a sneak peek at our interviews today. So a couple of weeks ago, I took to the internet to basically ask some of our listeners what you guys are afraid of. And it was fun. I got a lot of great responses on TikTok and Instagram. So if you haven't checked those out yet, please do check them out. It's the same name as the show, Jaunty Haunts Pod on Instagram or TikTok. So please check us out. So I asked listeners and viewers alike, what were you afraid of as a child? Was it a specific movie or, some sort of fictional material that you saw that really stuck with you? And I'm going to read you guys some of the great answers that I got back. So here are some of our top comments. Number 1, aliens. Holy moly cannoli, do I agree and connect with you on that? Because I think, especially as children, fearing the unknown and seeing what we've seen in the media, aliens definitely seemed like a very dangerous predator-like creature. And anyway, it really scared me too. So I'm right with you there, Natalie. The Child Catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I have to admit, I have not seen that full movie, but I have seen that scene specifically because I heard some of my friends talking about how horrifying it was. And I was like, wasn't that a kid's movie? And so I looked up the scene and holy moly, it is truly disturbing. I completely understand how that would scare you as a child. If you haven't seen that yet, just look up The Child Catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang on YouTube if you're in for a spooky night. The next one is the movie The Dark Crystal, and people named a lot of specific characters and creatures from the movie. But I have to be honest, I have not seen that yet. I need to watch it. I know I'm lagging on that one, so especially after so many people talking about how it gave them nightmares as children, I definitely want to check it out. So The Dark Crystal. Another one, which was a great nostalgic flashback, was Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Oh my God, what a time, right? Doesn't it also explain why a lot of our generation is so obsessed with this stuff? Because it was such a fun thing to do, and the fact that this was children's programming, but we were obsessed. So great answer. Also, yeah, terrifying and not something we probably should have been watching between the ages of 10 and 12, but yeah, we were obsessed. Next, Jaws. Obviously, self-explanatory. I agree. I am still afraid to swim in the ocean. And as we all know, that's Sierra's favorite movie, Jaws. The Ring was another one, specifically the girl from The Ring. I believe her name is Samara. Yeah, horrifying. Nightmares upon nightmares. Another comment I got was like a little vague and kind of creepy, but I actually really liked it. It was 3 sentences, and it said, going to the bathroom alone at night, period, the mirrors, period, and falling asleep, comma, never alone. Like, what? It sounds like she's got a pass there. I'm asking, listener, if you wrote that comment, please elaborate or send in your stories, because it sounds like you've got a lot to share. So anyway, those are some of the great responses that I got online. Please continue to send it in. I'd love to chat more about this and ask you, listeners, what were you afraid of as a little kid? You know, what were those specific characters or imaginary things that kept you awake or that you would have recurring nightmares or dreams about? Please leave a comment below. I'm so curious. Or please reach out through any of the social platforms on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Jaunty Haunts Pod on all of those. Or give us an email at jauntyhaunts@gmail.com. What were the things that kept you awake as a little kid? I want to know. Let's get into it. Childhood fears. They start so small, don't they? A creak in the hallway, a shadow under the bed, a whisper when no one's there. But where do these fears come from? And why do they cling to us even when we're grown? Maybe it was a movie, something we weren't supposed to watch but did anyway, peeking through our fingers, or a storybook filled with innocent rhymes that felt a little too sinister. Sometimes it was just our imagination. An imaginary friend who wasn't quite as friendly as we hoped. A face in the window that shouldn't have been there. Or maybe it was the ghost stories whispered at sleepovers. Or the myths and legends passed down from older siblings and cousins. These fears seemed harmless at first, but for some of us, they became more than just childhood fantasies. They grew. They followed us into adulthood, lurking in the back of our minds. A door left ajar at night still feels wrong. The dark corner of the basement still makes us hesitate. What is it about these fears? Why do they stay? Do they come from deep within us, or are they planted by the stories we hear, the books we read, and the warnings we're given? Tonight, we're going to look into these layers and dive into the fears born from childhood. The ghosts of our imaginations, the myths that shaped our nightmares, and the stories that never really let go. Because sometimes the things that scared us as kids are still watching.
Hi, this is Brian O'Connor.
And I'm Michael Duran.
Horror fans, it's time to get your fix with Opening Kill, the new podcast where we dissect everything terrifying in the world of horror.
From the latest movie news to an in-depth look at a feature film and a peek at chilling horrors to come, we've got you covered.
Whether it's gore, suspense, or supernatural thrills, Opening Kill is the ultimate horror deep dive.
Listen to Opening Kill on your favorite podcast platform every other Thursday, if you dare.
All right, listeners, let's get into some personal stories. I honestly just want to really chat with you like you're a guest sitting right across from me, because it's hard. I don't know if I necessarily have a specific long narrative story or a specific super fun example. Since we're just talking about things that scared us, it might not be a very truthful paranormal example, but I still hope you enjoy listening. The CASPER rating of this episode is 5. The first thing I want to talk about is the hooded figures I would see in the house. I do touch on this with Sierra and Jordan, as you'll hear later into the episode, but there were these creatures, spirits. I don't really know what they were exactly, but I saw them in this one house very specifically. It was actually my grandma's old house. My grandma, who did the previous episode 8, Ridgely. At one point when I was really little, it was just my mom and I living in that house alone. And I would see these sort of hooded figures with glowing red eyes. I know all of this sounds so silly, but we're just being vulnerable and having fun and talking about the things we saw as kids. So this is what I saw as a little kid. And there would be up to like 10 of them in the house sometimes. They felt like these watchers, really tall. I never saw any specific features. Oh, I'm getting chills. Occasionally, I would see like long fingers peeking out through the sort of cloaks that they wore. But yeah, their eyes would glow red and oh my gosh, I'm really getting chills. Ooh. So something that I felt safe with these hooded figures was keeping my TV on at night. So maybe it was a weird psychological, developmental thing, right? Maybe having the TV on helped me feel less alone as an only child with a mom who was doing her absolute best, but working a lot, maybe a lot of things. But I can't deny that when I slept with the TV on, they couldn't touch me or get to me. But when the room was fully dark, I just felt like they were always completely surrounding me. And I would cry and scream and cry. And I don't know what it was or what they were. And I haven't seen any sort of figures like that, I think, since I was maybe 7 or 8. You're going to hear an excerpt of my mom later in the episode talking about this, and another parent who told my mom basically to let me sleep with the TV on because he understood. I'm so curious as to know why or how he understood or what he experienced, whether it was, traumatic real life experience or paranormal or supernatural, but I am curious. So we'll hear my mom touch on that. The other thing that really scared me when I was young were skeletons, just the idea of skeletons, not the anatomy within us, but the concept that they were monsters. I think, with Scooby-Doo and other things like that, we would see these, weird zombified skeletons chasing people. And I would have this recurring nightmare of the skeleton with a little bit of hair, long stringy strands of hair. And it would grab me and kidnap me. And my family would always have to work together to try to save me from this skeleton that would chain me up and hold me hostage. And the skeleton would say, nobody loves you, no one's gonna come for you, which again, I think I'm being pretty vulnerable, telling obviously what was happening in a lot of my life and feeling unloved or, I needed more attention, but that's what that was. The other thing I want to touch on, which again is certainly psychological and something I still deal with, is intrusive thoughts, right? I think we all get them from time to time. Or maybe it was a premonition. I don't know. But there was a time that I was with my grandma Gloria, my dad's mom, who we heard in episode 1. And we pulled into a liquor store in my small town called Dart Discount Liquors. And the sun was just setting outside. And she said, "You just wait in here. I'll be right back. I just need to grab something quickly, And I was safe. The car doors were locked. The radio was on. I was parked right out front of the store, literally just outside. And I'm from a small town. This was totally normal and fine. I got this overwhelming sense of dread. And someone parked next to our car, and he got out and he went into the store. Now, this guy just had bad vibes. I don't know. He just had a baggy leather jacket on with a hoodie underneath it, and the hood was up with the leather jacket on top. And he was taking his time. His hands were in his pockets, and he was looking around at everybody in the store, not at the products on the shelf, not at the alcohol or anything like that, just looking at the people in the store. And all of a sudden, I started crying. I started heave crying because I just knew he was going to hurt the people in the store. I had almost this weird, vision or something of him pulling out a gun and shooting my grandma and the people in the store. And yeah, it was really weird and really traumatic. And I think I was 9. And so I kind of flashed back to reality and he's looking around. My grandma's in line waiting to check out. And I couldn't take it. I undid my seatbelt. I ran out of the car. I left the door open and I ran into the place screaming and crying. And I was like, we have to get out of here. We have to get out of here. We have to get out of here. And she was like, Court, oh my God, what's going on? Oh my gosh, you know? And she put down all the products on the floor and she was like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And then she like came out with me and we got in the car and I was like, go, just drive. And she's like, what is happening? And I was like, just drive, you know? So we started driving down the road and we parked somewhere else and I told her about what I had seen and saw. And, you know, she really like rationalized it for me and explained like, we were fine. Nothing was wrong. I think he was just trying to buy something for himself. Like, it's okay. And I was like, but you don't know. We don't know. And, you know, ultimately, like, she didn't get what she went for. And I just let my little anxiety brain lead the way. But I don't know. I guess we will never really know if something would have happened or if I was just a child with extremely incredible anxiety and maybe OCD and maybe intrusive thoughts. I don't know. I'm still working on that with my therapist. But I would have things like that a lot as a little kid. It's like I'd almost key into a fear or an extreme emotion of something I thought was going to happen. And I would act on it really quickly, even if it meant straying from the path or delaying my family or friends because I had to trust that gut feeling. And it was never worth finding out if I was wrong or not. It always felt better to just honor that and try and stay safe. And the last childhood fear I'll touch on is something a little more silly. And I think something we can all connect with is a scary movie, right? So my scary movie that changed my life forever was the movie The Grudge. Now, I did not want to watch this movie. I was in 5th grade. I think I was like almost 11 years old. And my friend said, oh, it's this fun movie. We have to watch it. And I was like, no, I don't want to. And she's like, yeah, we're going to watch it. And I was like, no. But she played it and she was like the coolest girl. She was like the coolest friend ever. And I was like, okay, like fine. And immediately I'm like, I don't want to watch this. And it was like a fun thing for her and her family. They would play pranks on each other a lot and try to scare each other. So we're watching and her little brother, who's like 4 at the time, like runs in at a really scary part wearing a black wig that's like hanging in his face like The Grudge. And I'm like, where did you even get it? Like, what is happening? Anyway, we watched the whole movie. I don't think I slept for 2 weeks after that because I could just, oh my God, even just thinking about it. This, you know, ghostly zombie ghoul female that would crawl up and down the walls and, you know, just a really horrifying, traumatic thing to see as a child. And it's the thing that still haunts me to my core when I see movies or characters in a TV show or even like a haunted house where somebody's moving in an irregular way or crawling backwards or things like that. I just get pulled right back into my little 10-year-old shoes of watching The Grudge and how absolutely horrible that was. So those are my few childhood fear stories, and let's get into it so you can hear some of my friends.
Please welcome Sierra and Jordan. You know them, you love them, to talk about their childhood fears.
But I'm also always one of those people who, like, since I was a little kid, like, I don't like the dark. Yeah. And like, and even though I'm like, okay, like, if you turned off this ring light, I know there's 3 of us in here.
Yeah.
I know what this room is. I know there's nothing to be scared of. But like, if you turned off this ring light and I was alone, I would run to the door to turn the light on, to be like, because if I'm in the dark for more than 5 seconds, that's when it'll get me.
Yeah,
it's like, what's it? Like, nope, it's just whatever is in there. I don't know what that is.
I was always like that. I think honestly until like halfway through living in LA, because of this woo-woo stuff. Because I realized it propelled the fear, which made me feel like I was drawing more spirit to me because of this, like, you know, and they're like, ooh, what's that? Yummy, yummy.
Yuck.
So there were like a few nights I remember when you were in Australia and I had to turn off all the lights and get into the bed. I slept with a knife under the pillow. He didn't like that. But
What?
You slept with a kitchen knife under the pillow.
we lived in LA and like the door was kind of broken. It didn't really lock all the way.
Oh my
and
God, Courtney.
I just wanted to be ready. But anyway, I didn't want to be...
To do hibachi. Yeah. Just in case you need to wake up and be like, oh, shrimp. And then like throw a shrimp up, catch it in your mouth.
I would turn off all the lights and I would force myself to walk in like PCPA, like slow motion movement class, to all the way into the bedroom, like purposely, even though I felt like if I don't run, something is going to get me. It's a really good test for, I think, your OCD and your fear levels, to purposely move and intentionally move slowly in the dark. Because by the time you get to your destination, you get this dopamine hit of like, oh yeah, nothing fucking got me. I'm good.
Sierra, you seem to disagree.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I used to do when I was a kid. I'm not kidding. I had a cast iron bed frame. And
I had a cast iron pan
Under my
underneath
pillow.
my
Yeah.
no, but I would go by the light, but like get my hind legs on the end of my bed.
Yeah.
No, you are
And
where
I would-
you only have. You do not have 4 legs.
You didn't know me when I was 12. And I would do this whole physical thing so that I could turn the light off and then jump into bed.
Yeah.
Without having to like
Hit the floor or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I could actually move in slow motion. I have a whole routine that keeps me with some sort of light on until I'm under the covers.
When you were kids, did you have a monster, like a visualization of like what you were running from?
Yes.
Yes.
What was yours?
Let's all share it.
Well, I again, because of the woo stuff, I think they were real. I think they really were there in this house. It was my mom's house, and they were the hooded guys, I called them. And it was like these very tall creatures with these long, dark cloaks, and just all I could see was glowing red eyes. And at night, even when I went to sleep, if I turned off the TV or I didn't have a nightlight, they'd come. So that's why I slept with the TV on all night. And when my mom and my stepdad first started dating, he was like, she cannot keep sleeping with the TV on all night. Like, it's not healthy. So he tried one night to like be like, no, we're not doing this. We're here. We'll be here for you. And every time he would leave and shut the door, I would scream bloody murder and be like, they're here, the hooded guys, they're here. And like, I would like see them approaching on me, and then they'd flip the lights on and like scurry away, scurry.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay, what are yours?
Well, mine's not a...
You should have gone last.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you edit this, may you put you last.
Okay.
Mine was always one of two things. It was either a vampire, like specifically a vampire, or, and then here's the goofy part. There is an episode of Boy Meets World
I know it well.
that is like the horror movie episode.
Yes.
Where it's like it all turns out to be a dream or something, but all the main cast is in the high school, and there's like a slasher style killer picking them off one by one. And as a kid, I watched it because I loved that show. But the part that always scared me was there was a moment where like someone turns around to be like, hello? And then the killer runs from one door to the other. And like, it's so quiet and you can't hear it, and and you don't even notice it. So that, that hooded Disney Channel ripoff of Scream is what is the monster that I was always running from.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh. Well, mine's kind of stupid, guys.
It's not stupid.
I just said that mine's from
Boy Meets World.
Boy Meets World.
Well, the thing is, mine was a tiny guy that lived in my walls. And like, rode a little like tricycle. But
that's horrifying.
Yeah, but he was little, and I don't know if someone had like told me a scary story and was like, "Yeah, the guy in your walls," because I was always asking to hear scary stories.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it stems from, is that I had asked like one of my after school care, the teenagers working at the after school program, to like tell me a scary story, and it was like, I don't know, dude.
There's a
There's
little guy.
a little man in your walls, and so I would lie awake in bed like next to my wall because my bed was up against the wall, and I'd be like, oh my god, he's gonna kill me. So
that's good.
there is also like a Stephen King mini series. Actually, Drew Barrymore was in it as a kid.
Oh, wow.
And it's about like this little, I don't know if it was like a leprechaun or something that would like come and steal your breath.
Oh.
And then like there's this cat that like came and saved her. Anyway, that's sort of related to that, because
Yeah.
I think like the image of that little guy coming and stealing baby Drew Barrymore's breath like tied in with this little guy in my wall. So
And you were baby Drew in this
Yeah.
instance. Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you think the tricycle came from?
I don't know.
Just got to get away to get around fast. Well, why should I be scared of a little man if he's
So slow.
if he can't get to me?
That's the
he's
thing.
too
He was
tiny.
moving,
Yeah.
and it was like the little bicycle wasn't like a bicycle. It was like, little cogs and like a
Yeah,
like a
the
clock, like the
clocks. Yeah.
That's what the wheels were.
Ooh, that's cool.
No, it was scary.
Was it like one of those like velocipedes, like the giant, the old timey bikes with the giant front wheel and the tiny back
It
wheel?
might have been
Yeah.
something like that.
That's cool. You know,
Those
did you
are fun.
Did you ever see the movie Wild Wild West?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I
because
love
that
it.
would have. I think that would have informed that, because it's very steampunky and there's characters who ride around on those things.
Oh no, I never saw it.
yeah, okay.
So maybe
I'm
it was
surprised.
real.
We
Maybe
should watch it. It's good.
Maybe I
It's not good. Hold on,
Wow,
let me just go on the record here.
I
remember the
Yeah, we'll
song.
go into the wild, wild
We don't
west.
have the rights for this song.
What did I sing when I did the Beatles the other day? I was like, come together tonight over here.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah,
We have
that'll
rights
trick
to
the
that.
Michael Jackson estate. Yeah.
Next, we're going to hear from my longtime friend, Spencer.
Oh, wait, can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
Okay, did you have anything specifically when you were a child that you were afraid of a lot, that you would have nightmares frequently of, or a movie that you saw? Like, what scared you as a little kid?
Yeah. This is something crazy. This is something that like haunts me. Like, I remember it and I like literally get emotional. I remember being a kid and I, for like a week straight, had night terrors of the same thing.
Oh.
And like, I'd wake up and be like, okay, I woke up, and then go back to sleep and go straight back into the thing. And it was like, what I remember about it was being in the woods, and there was like wanted posters, like those old tiny like cowboy wanted posters on the trees, and the face was so vivid. Like, I could probably draw the face still.
Oh, shit.
And it was like gaunt, and it was kind of like big cheekbones and kind of like receding hairline and a strong jaw, but it was kind of weird shaped. And like, it was something that like, just seeing that picture, I was terrified.
Oh.
I was terrified of it. And I would go like for a week straight. And then, so this was before I was in the Boy Scouts, but when my brothers were in the Cub Scouts, we went to a family day, like at the Boy Scout camp, which is at Lake of the Woods. And one of the leaders was the man.
Oh my God. Spencer,
And
you
it
had
was,
like full premonition. What the hell?
Months later. And like, it was the man, and I was so scared, and I didn't like tell anybody, but I like, this is something that like still sometimes if I'm tired, I'll remember it, and like the power of it would come back. And like, I don't remember if anything like kinky or untoward happened with this man, but there was something just terrifying about him.
Oh my God. Yeah. That is wild, Spencer, and very cool. You had a premonition, but also so sad, little Spencer. Wow. Did you like have a reaction when you saw him? Did you like cry, or you just had to kind of like keep it tightened up? Or
kind of like it was kind of like one of the few times in my life where I was quiet.
Yeah, fully speechless, truly terrifying.
Yeah. But like, yeah, I was like 5, 6, maybe 7. Wow. And I just remember like it was the thing that haunts me. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah. Next, we're going to hear from my childhood best friend, Shelby.
Okay, my last question for you, and maybe it's the ghost woman you talked about at the beginning of this, and maybe not, but I'm going to do an episode coming up about just childhood fears. It could be founded in reason or not reason, but is there any specific like Disney movie or anything like what are the things that scared you or like kept you awake at night as a little kid?
Skeletons.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. 100p. Like, specifically, did you have like an image or something you saw in a movie, or just like the concept of the anatomy within our bodies? Like, what about it?
So I didn't really understand it until I started watching some of the Disney films as an adult, specifically until I went to Disneyland as an adult. So family was a huge Disney family, big Disney nerd, stuff like that. It was always a huge, huge treat for us to go to Disneyland. And we went like once or twice when I was a kid. I didn't realize until I was an adult how many skeletons and skulls and bones and things are in those Disney rides. Pirates of the Caribbean, obviously, we all know that's a big one of people walking around and being skeletons and things like that. But even like Indiana Jones and even like the Jungle Cruise, things like that. There is a lot of Haunted Mansion. Yeah. There's a lot of skeleton imagery. And there's one specific dream that I had as a little kid that I will never forget. I was at our elementary school, and there was this like evil being thing that was turning everybody that I loved into these walking skeleton beings. And it scared me so much. Like I was absolutely terrified, and I still to this day, like I probably had that when I was in kindergarten. And I can still remember vividly what the imagery of that was. Like, I remember there was this little red car on the playground that I knew my grandparents were sitting in, but they were my grandparents that were skeletons now.
Wow.
So, yeah, skeletons were always the big childhood fear of mine that I can remember.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird how the skeletons were fucking horrifying as a child.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was because they were... you know, in a lot of the imagery and like the movies and the play, they were alive, you know, they weren't just dead bodies. They were just, you know, these living, scary, undead beings.
Trying to get you. Yeah.
Oh, God. Sorry. I just killed a bug.
I thought you were just reveling in your trauma.
No. Yeah, we can say that for the podcast, but...
Did you ever see anything at the Blue Cottage house with Grandma? Because I saw a lot of stuff in there.
Like Grandma's house that we moved into?
Yeah.
I only saw it once. It was Mark.
For those of you who listened to the previous episode, Stories with My Grandma, you'll know that Mark is the spirit of my grandma's ex-lover.
That was the, like,
oh, really?
Mark was there. Yeah, and I never saw it, but one day when I came up the stairs, like, into my room, and I turned and looked at Annie, and I was like, oh, like I knew I had seen something. And I looked at her, and she was like, it's okay. It's, you know, she was younger than me. And she was like, it's okay. It's Mark. He's always here checking on us. Like Annie had seen him.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh. But yeah, I mean, that was...
Because I saw scary stuff there. I saw like dark, like...
Well, that's when you never slept. Do you remember?
No, I never slept in that house.
In that house.
I saw there were bad
things in that house.
Well, I thought it was actually aliens was always my
Oh my God, no, I'm getting chills because I would have stuff there too of aliens too. Do you remember when we went to Discovery Bay, like, and all of our friends wanted to do, like, we were having a sleepover and they wanted to play the Scooby-Doo alien movie, and I was like crying so hard I couldn't breathe because I was like, no, I can't do the aliens. Like, I'm too afraid of the aliens. Like, and I have a recording of Grandma Gloria talking about it too, because
she used to
see aliens. I have a recorded story of her literally talking about how an alien was like floating above her bed and was like coming to get her, and she like couldn't move her body. And I would see aliens at her house when I was a little kid too, like in the corner. And
you used to say that when you were little because you never wanted to turn the TV off because you said when you turned the TV off that they would come.
Yeah, the dark hooded. Well, in the Blue House they were like hooded figures, like it was something else. But yeah.
So you always had like I want the TV on. Like that was just always. And I was like, you have to go to bed, and you were like, no, if you turn it off, they come. So you would sleep with the TV on. I mean, that's the only way you would sleep.
No, and I remember the one night Chris came over and was like,
made
stop
you turn it off.
And I was screaming because I saw these.
So
yeah,
you weren't that little. I mean, I guess you were 7, but like
I was like 6. Yeah,
like 6 or 7. And the next day, do you know who told me to never do that again?
Who?
John. You went to their house the next morning and you told them at breakfast that you had to turn off the TV. When I came to pick you up after school, John was like, can I talk to you for a minute? And he's like, I don't want to ever overstep my bounds, and I know you're a great mom, but you need to let her sleep with the TV on. He's like, I have the same issues. And he's like, I don't, whatever it is.
He saw shit too. We talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so
But it was just so, because he, they're like super like Republican. No one talked about anything. Like, I don't know. That was just...
Did he say why, or he just said just let her?
He just said just let her. He said I've dealt with things that I think are similar. She needs to sleep. Like if that's what helps her sleep, and she actually goes to sleep, let her sleep with it on.
Is it spirits? Is it schizophrenia? Stay tuned. One day I'll find out. When we lived back in the Blue House behind your house right now, like I did start sleeping with the TV off there. Do you like?
Yeah,
we had that
house didn't have anything in it.
No, but I had like the Girl Scout fish nightlight, and I think Christian was like, I had won it, and he was like, well, let's just try to sleep with that instead of the TV like one night, or like you can watch one episode of Full House, like trying to negotiate. And I was finally like, okay, But sorry, what were you gonna say?
Well, no, I was just like, because we lived in the Andy Joe house, and then I remember when we moved into the little house, like where you had your kitchen.
I don't remember that one.
It was the one on the golf course.
Oh, yes, I do, yeah. That was after the Andy Joe house?
Yeah, that was after. When we moved into that one, like, you had your room, I had mine. And the first night we were there, I remember going like, oh, there's no one else in this house.
Oh, you didn't feel anything else?
Yeah, I was like, oh my God. Because it had just been so long. Because Grandma's house, the Andy Joe house, it was like, finally being in that house, I was like, oh, there's nobody else here. It's so great. I loved living in that house. And then we moved back to Grandma's, so.
Magic is real. In 1930 San Francisco, a supernatural world exists, hidden within the mundane. Meet Norman P. Blank.
Hello.
As mundane as they get.
I'm a lawyer.
Quiet, you. Through a twist of fate, Norman is hurled headfirst into a world of magic, wonder, and danger. Will he survive? Probably not.
What?
I said quiet. Roll the tape.
You can't be pixies. They're not real.
Is this real?
I was just mugged by pixies.
It's Machina. David X Machina.
I am Lady Blackfreeze.
A pleasure to meet you, Mr. Blank. I'm the Lord of Ash and Shadow.
You ever wonder why egg salad is so stinky?
No, not
it's
really.
It's pixie farts. That's why.
Damn this drink well! That'll teach you to be dirty.
A floating skull is talking to me.
Just remember, he's a friendly floating skull.
Even though the city is filled with magical creatures, they are absolute crap when it comes to paperwork. That's where I can help.
Join us if you dare for a peek into the occult adventures of Norman P. Blank.
Thank you to my friends and loved ones who shared their childhood fears. Now, This week, I'm going to do something a little different. In the spirit of childhood fears, I'm reaching back to a story that haunted my friends and I when we were kids. We all have those urban legends, the ones whispered around campfires or told on the trampoline late at night or told in hushed voices around the playground, and this was one of ours. A shadowy figure who lived in the mountains, always watching, waiting. We called him the guy. It's silly, but we were terrified of this guy we had made up. We were terrified. Tonight, I've taken this semi-true urban legend, the one that kept us awake at night, and fleshed it out into a short, fictional, scary story for you guys to enjoy. So, turn down the lights, settle in, and let me take you back to those childhood nights where every shadow felt alive. Here is the fictional story of the guy. Every small town has its legends, but not every legend stays in the shadows. This is the story of the guy in the mountains. I grew up in a small town surrounded by mountains, peaceful and quiet until the sun set. Everyone knew the stories. They called him the guy. Not a monster, not a ghost, just the guy. No one knew his real name, but everyone knew what he did. He lived up in the mountains, watching. Always watching and waiting. My parents warned me, stay inside after dark. They'd say, don't wander off. They never explained why. They didn't have to. The older kids told us everything. The guy comes down from the mountains when the moon is full. He hides in the trees, watching, waiting. If he sees you, he takes you, and you never come back. I thought it was just a story, something to keep kids in line. Until that summer. It was a hot night, and I couldn't sleep. I was sleeping over at my best friend Kaylin's house. Her house was nestled into the foothills of the mountain, where the guy lived. The moon hung low, lighting up her backyard. The window was open, and I could hear the rustling of leaves. Normal sounds, or so I thought. But then, I saw him. At first, it was just shadows in the trees, but shadows don't move like that. They don't stare. He was tall, thin, with wild hair and a dirty coat that hung loose on his frame. His eyes, they gleamed, reflecting the moonlight like a predator's. He stood at the edge of the woods, half hidden, half revealed, watching. I froze. My heart pounded so hard I thought he'd hear it. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't make a sound. Then he moved. He stepped closer to the house, slowly, carefully, as if he didn't want to scare me too soon, but I knew who he was. I backed away from the window, my eyes locked on him, but as I moved, the floor creaked. He stopped. His head snapped up from outside. Our eyes met. That's when I saw his mouth. A crooked smile, wide and hungry, like he knew he'd been seen and it didn't matter anymore. I ran down the hall into my friend's parents' room. I couldn't speak. I couldn't explain. I just pointed to the window. Her dad grabbed a flashlight and headed outside. He didn't find anything, just trees and shadows, but I knew what I saw. The next day, I told my friend and the other kids, and they believed me. You're lucky, one of them said. If you had stayed at the window, he would have taken you. After that night, I never left the windows open again. I didn't sleep in a tent or on the trampoline or out under the stars at all the rest of that summer. I didn't even sleep with the curtains drawn. And every time the wind rustled in the trees or the moonlight cast long shadows, I wondered, was he still out there, watching? Because that's the thing about the guy. He's patient. He waits. And when you think you're safe, that's when he comes back. Some legends are just stories, but others, well, they have a way of sticking around. So tonight, close your windows, draw your curtains, and remember, the guy is always watching.
Thanks
Thanks so much for listening. Remember, you are not alone if you've ever heard a bump in the night or caught something out of the corner of your eye. There are countless others who experience things they can't explain. And this podcast is your safe place to listen and share. Also, I want to remind everyone that this show is for entertainment purposes. I am not a professional paranormal investigator. I did not go to school to study this. I can only speak about my firsthand experiences. And with that, I'd love to mark the importance of spiritual inclusion. Your thoughts, ideas, and theories about the other side are welcome. And we know that so much of our common knowledge and perception about the paranormal stems from historical and cultural experiences. So we are open to your knowledge and understanding of things that we may be ignorant about or not fully understand. Let's learn and grow together. Stay spooky, and we'll see you next time. Hey ghoul friends, got a spooky story to share? Well, I want to hear about your haunts. Whether you've seen a ghost or something unexplainable, send your supernatural experiences to us at jauntyhaunts@gmail.com. That's JAUNTYHAUNTS@gmail.com. Or DM us on Instagram at jauntyhauntspod. That's jauntyhaunts_pod. You can also find us on TikTok and YouTube under Jaunty Haunts Podcast. I want to hear from you.